Welcome back to the online sessions on DCCN. And today's session, what we do is we'll try to discuss about the IEEE standards and the differences between the routers and the bridges. Okay. So, what do you mean by IEEE standard basically? IEEE 802 is a standard. So, it is using this standard, the data communication protocols will be designed. So now this IEEE 802 is basically an Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers standards standard set that covers the physical and data link layers of the OSI model, Open System Interconnection model. So what is important is this IEEE 802 is the term is important. IEEE 802 is something like a protocol which is normally going to cover the physical and data link layers of the OSI model. It is something like Constitution of India. In the Constitution of India, so many sections are going to be there, so many volumes are going to be there, and there so many sections are going to be there. So it is something like a section IEEE 802 kind of a section. So this IEEE 802 section is normally meant for the physical and data link layers of the OSI model. Now that means here it is simply comes under the family of IEEE standards, which deals with the local area networks and metropolitan area networks. That is LAN and MAN type of the networks. Now IEEE 802 is nothing but a standard for local area networks. So here why we normally design this just to recognize in this is normally used for recognizing a need for standards in the LAN market. That means here using LAN network, I want to establish communication between two or many devices or computers or terminals or stations. So these communications should follow certain standard while they are communicating with each other. It's something like whenever people interact with each other, they should know the each other the language that they are talking to. Something like English language. So if both the people knows about English, they can speak in English. If both people knows about Urdu or Telugu or some other language, they can normally going to speak. Now that language is nothing but a standard. So everybody should understand or follow the standards in order to communicate in a particular language. Similarly, here also these standards are normally used in recognizing the. It is normally going to provide us a particular standard in the land market for communications. So the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers undertook the project called 802. So why this 802 has been given? This project has been developed in the year 1980 in the month of February. Therefore, it is year and month in terms of the numbers has been given, such as 802. So it is named after the year and month of its inception. Therefore, the project 802 defined a family of low-level protocol standards. Low level means what? In OSI model, these two are the low levels. What are the low levels? Physical layer is the lowest level, and next to lowest level is going to be the data link layer. So this is nothing but a family of low level protocol standards at physical and data link layer of OSI model. In IEEE 802 terms, the OSI data link layer is divided into two sublayers. The OSI data link layer in terms of this IEEE 802 protocol is divided into two sublayers. One is going to be logical link control. Next one is media access control. Now, what is the functions of this logical link control sublayer? What it should provide? Logical link control. That means it especially provides the protocols for controlling logical connection, for making a logical connection, and for controlling the connection. These kind of protocols are normally used. LLC sublayer is normally used. So, what is that logical connection? It is been understood by link establishment and termination. Frame traffic control, that means controlling mechanisms are normally been implemented or used by using the traffic control, frame traffic control, frame sequencing, frame acknowledgement. So sequencing the frames and acknowledgement of the frames. So all this comes under the logical, connection, logical link between the various terminals in the network, and control actions, sequencing of the frames, and acknowledgement from the frames. So these are all the things which we normally going to perform in the case of the logical link control protocol layer. Okay. Now see the name what I am giving here. I am putting a name as frame. That is an important concept that we normally going to discuss. Data link layer is normally going to give the data or information in terms of frames. Therefore, we are speaking everything in terms of frames. The next MAC at a MAC sublayer, the data link layer functions allocated to the MAC sublayer are going to be what now? Frame delimiting. That means MAC is going to be the lowest level in the computer to delimit the frames coming in the network. And next is frame error checking, media access management controls. So these three functions are being done by the MAC sublayer. So all these functions are pertaining to what? 802 standards, IEEE 802 standards. It is meant for data link layer and the physical layer. Now the low level protocol standards defined by IEEE 802 project include 802.3. Now there are going to be versions in this. Okay, after 802, there are versions in 802. So, okay, 802.3, 802.4, 802.5, 802.14, 802.16, like that. So, there are so many versions of the standards. So, these standards differ at a physical layer and media access control sublayer. That means all these, whatever versions that we have, so every version is normally going to come up with some more specified advanced features. But all these are compatible at the logical link control sublayer. So 802 standards have been adopted by three people in the market, real-time market, that is ANSI as American National Standards, NBS as government standards, and ISO as international standards. So this is what regarding the IEEE 802 standards. So these standards are normally designed uh, to write a protocols or to establish the protocols at a physical layer and a data link layer. That is what important point of discussion for us. And next is another important concept which we have in the second unit is going to be the differences between routers and bridges. Now, where routers and bridges are placed, the routers and bridges are placed in the internet cloud to propagate the signal coming from source to the destination computers. So now let us go for the difference between these two. Routers operate in network layer of the OSI model. Now we are discussing at the uh, second layer called a data link layer. So the next unit is going to be network layer. So therefore routers operate in the network layer of the OSI model. So every router is going to operate the protocols of the network layer, are normally going to implement the protocols of the network layer. Whereas bridges operate in the data link layer of the OSI model. So that means what? Bridges basically operate in the data link layer of the OSI model. The next is routers are used to connect LAN and WAN type of networks. Bridges are used to connect two different LAN segments. That means bridges are normally used to interconnect the LAN networks only, LAN segments only, whereas routers can interconnect LANs and WANs. WANs are wide area networks. Router transmits data in the form of packets. So this is what I was talking to you. Whenever a data comes out of the network layer, we call that data as packet. That's an important point. So therefore routers transmit data in the form of packets because these are the routers are the devices normally implement used to implement at the network layer. So network layer is normally going to provide us packets. That means data in terms of packets. Therefore, routers transmitted in the form of packets we have to write. Don't write in the exam that router transmits data in the form of segments, in the form of data, in the form of something else. Write down specifically that router transmitted in the form of packets. It is understood that a router is implemented in the network layer. That is what the point we have to address in the exam. So bridges transmit data in the form of frames. Sorry, there is a spelling mistake here. This should be frames. Bridges transmits data in the form of frames. Here it is packets. That is the primary difference between the data coming out of the data link layer and the network layer. If data coming out of the network layer, it will be in the form of frames. If data is coming out of the network layer, it is in the form of packets. So therefore, we simply use these terms. So the terms usage of these terms are really plays a vital role in the differences. So the next third difference is router reads the IP address of the device. This is another important point. Router reads the internet protocol address of the device, whereas here the bridge reads the MAC address of the device. So this should be bridge here. So bridge reads the MAC address of the device. A router has more ports compared to the bridge. A router is going to have so many number of ports compared to the bridge. Bridge has got only two ports, input port and output port. Whereas router is going to have one input port and many, that means it's going to be, many to many kind of connections which routers uses routing table for sending data. Now, the entire network layer, in the entire network layer subject unit we discuss about routing tables. So here router uses routing table for sending data. That's a very important point here. Then bridge does not use routing table for sending the data. So these are the conclusive remarks at a functional level, functional side of the network layer and the data link layer. So functionally network layer is normally going to be implemented using a routing tables. Therefore, routers are normally going to use routing table for sending the data. Okay. Then another important question is regarding the MAC layer. Sometimes there was a question for 2 marks. Describe multiple access control protocols for 2 marks. So in that case, you should speak about multiple access protocol and you should list the various multiple access protocols that are there. That's all. So that means what is this multiple access protocol? It is responsible for framing and MAC address, framing the MAC address and multiple access control, where data link control is responsible for flow and error control. So we discussed about flow control, error control we'll discuss after we complete these particular topics. Next, medium or multiple access control protocols belong to, that is called MAC protocols, belong to sublayer of data link layer, called the MAC layer, that is called medium access control layer. So every data link layer internally going to have the MAC sublayer. This MAC sublayer is normally going to get implemented for flow control and error control methods, and which is also going to have, are normally going to figure out the MAC address of a particular terminal or a station or a system. So every system is always going to have a unique MAC address. So therefore, that becomes the address of the station that it is really coming, that is really passing through. Now, MAC protocols are used to coordinate the transmission of active nodes in the network to avoid collision of frames from multiple nodes. So MAC protocols are used to avoid collision of multiple frames whenever multiple active nodes are going to transmit data. So the main task is to minimize the collisions. What is the main task of MAC sublayer? To minimize the collisions. That is what we discussed about CSMA-CA. CSMA-CA is going to provide more throughput than Aloha protocol. So the main task is to minimize collisions in order to utilize the bandwidth of the shade medium. So we have to utilize the bandwidth of the shade medium. This we discussed in terms of the throughput S. So throughput S is nothing but what? Now, if throughput S is going to be really very high, means what? Utilization of bandwidth of shared resources really very good. That is what the meaning. So by doing what, we normally going to avoid collisions and we utilize the bandwidth, determining when the station can use the medium or a link. We should determine, every terminal should determine itself that when it can use a station, when a station or when a terminal can use the link, when what a station should do when the link is busy, when the link is busy, what the station whichever want to transmit data should do, then what the station should do when it is involved in collision, what the station should do when involved in collision. That means whenever collision takes place in CSMA technique, the sender is always going to stop its further packet transmissions. It will wait for random amount of time until it gets a signal from the medium about about the medium, whether it is ideal or not, and a request from the receiving station. Then it decides whether it has to retransmit data or not to retransmit data. So when collision is involved, what CSMA will do? It simply stop the process. Okay. That means whenever collision is normally going to take place, in the case of CSMA CD technique, the sender is going to stop transmitting its data packets. Okay, that is what the station which has to be which it has to do when a collision takes place really. Now, what the station should do when the link is busy? When the link is busy, what the station should do? We have got a DIFS time period, contention window in the CSMA technique. So in that technique, we discussed about that DIFS time period. After DIFS time period, you will be normally putting the results into the contention window. That means when the link is busy, what has to be done? It has to go into the queue. Whenever it turns comes, then only it has to really follow up with the data transmission. Well, you have to address these three issues compulsorily to minimize the collisions and utilize the bandwidth to the maximum extent. That means throughput to the maximum extent. Now, what are the protocols? We have multiple access protocols. One is going to be random access protocols. So these four things we have in the syllabus: Aloha protocol, Slaughter Aloha protocol, CSMA, CSMA CD, CSMA CA. And these two we don't have in the syllabus, known as controlled access protocols, channelization protocols. Controlled access means for reservation, polling, token passing. Okay, that is called controlled access protocols. So already some sort of polling has been discussed when we discussed about the functions of the data link layer. In terms of this, we discussed in the flow control method, polling, stop and wait, polling status. So using such signal methods, we transmitted the signals. The next one is channelization protocols, known as FDMA, TDMA, and CDMA. So frequency division multiple access, time division multiple access, code division multiple access. So using these methods, we also going to transmit our, using these protocols, we also going to transmit data on the network. So this is what the various types of the protocols which we use in the medium access protocol layers. Okay. So this is what regarding the multiple access control protocols. And already we discussed about this particular thing known as HDLC protocol, high level data link control protocol, very important protocol in the that we have in syllabus. So it basically data link layer to be considered a high layer in protocol stack. So HDLC is also used in multi-point links. So multi-point links means what? There is going to be a single bus or a medium line or a shade medium. You can connect multiple stations to it. That is called a multi-point links. One station going to have many receivers. It's called a multi-point link. SDLC was defined by ISO for use on both point-to-point and multi-point data links. It supports full duplex communications. Okay, there are different modes of communications called simplex, half duplex, full duplex modes of communications. So broadly, SDLC features are as follows. It provides reliable protocol, selective repeat or go back end protocols, full duplex communication. It supports full duplex communication. That means receive and transmit can be done at the same time. Bit-oriented protocol uses bits to stuff flags occurring in data. That means, especially it is normally used for controlling operations, bit-oriented protocols. Then it supports the flow control, adjust window size based on the receiver capability. Flow control method. It uses physical layer clocking and synchronization to send and receive frames. The data coming out of data link layer will be given it to the physical layer. So it uses physical layer clocking and synchronization to send and receive frames to and from the physical layer. That means interfacing has to be done between these two. Synchronization has to be done between data link layer and physical layer. Defines three types of stations known as primary station, secondary station, and a combined station. Defines three types of data transfer modes. This also we discussed, known as normal response mode, asynchronous response mode, asynchronous balance mode. Three types of frames are used here, called as unnumbered frames, information frames, and supervisory frames. So this also we have discussed. Supervisory means what? Control signals. Information is actual data that you want to transmit. Unnumbered frames means what? Unnumbered types of frames means what? Whenever a major network or a main network is damaged, and these particular frames, that means another separate bypass lane will be provided in the real-time network systems. So we will be using that network system and that frames, which is going to be called as Stepney kind of a architecture, Stepney kind of a medium for us, Stepney kind of frames. Whenever the main device goes under repair, so that the communication should not stop. So therefore, we can provide communication by other channels. Thereby, we can provide the continuous communication here. So this is what regarding the HDMA, HDLC protocol, which also that also we discussed in length in our previous sessions. Okay, so we stop it here for today, and next session what we'll do is we'll try to cover the one of the main functions or important functions of a data link layer known as the control uh, data link layer control protocols. Okay, we have seen flow control. We'll see now error control. In the next session, we'll discuss about the error control methods. Thank you very much for the today's session.